Much of the transfer window for this 2025-2026 Premier League season, one of the biggest discussions that was going on is who was the better striker to purchase for any of these teams. And it was always between Gyokeres, Ekitike, and Sesko. There was so much debate, again, with Arsenal fans, Manchester United fans, Liverpool fans, even Chelsea fans at a certain point when they thought they would get players like Benjamin Sesko. And I thought it would be great to now look back after the season's basically completed and see if arguments back then were right, if arguments back then were wrong, and just see overall who has had a better season. So first for Gyokeres, the debate was he was a finished product in his prime. He's 27 years old. He was going to cost a lesser fee, and he just had back-to-back years at Sporting with 30-plus goals and assists. He was pivotal in Sporting winning the league. So the debate was a team like Arsenal or a team like Liverpool might want to sign Gyokeres because he is such a finished product. But there was also the debate that Manchester United would want him because he played with Ruben Amorim, and Ruben Amorim was the Manchester United head coach in the beginning of the season. So why not reunite Gyokeres with the coach that had him score 30-plus goals and assists every single season at Sporting? So that was the debate for Gyokeres. Maybe a little less talented, but extremely relentless, extremely resourceful, has proven back-to-back seasons to be a top striker, and he's coming in as a finished product. And then came Ekitike, 23 years old. You knew his fee was going to be larger because of the potential. He's younger. And he had great seasons at Eintracht Frankfurt, and they are trying to see if he can have that type of success at a higher level. Frankfurt is a great team, but they're not always playing at the highest levels, typically the Europa League, sometimes not even in the Europa League. And the debate with Ekitike is he's got all the intangibles. He's tall, he's lanky, he's fast, he's good on the ball. But can he prove it in a league like the Premier League where it's harder? And then finally, there was Sesko, which was basically the most raw out of everybody. 22 years old, super athletic, super tall. We've all seen the clip of him jumping super high, perfectly controlling the ball. The debate for him was if you're a team that isn't expecting to challenge for the next season or two, kind of like a Manchester United or a Chelsea, you take a risk on him. And hopefully by the time you're ready to challenge in a year or two, he has now developed and he has that experience, and he can come in now and be your pivotal striker that's scoring 20 goals or assists. But there was also the debate for a team like Arsenal, who were expected to challenge this season and did, that Sesko can come in, and because the team around you is so good and has been together for so long, you don't even need to do much other than park yourself in the 6-yard box, and chances will come, and that will help you. That'll help you, your confidence. It'll help you learn the league, and you'll be able to perform and still drop double-digit goals and assists each year without having to go to a team that is a little more in transition like a Chelsea or Manchester United and have to do so much more. So this was the debate in the summer of these three strikers. And what ends up happening is Gyokeres goes to Arsenal for a 63 million euro fee. I think there's like 10 million add-ons in there as well. And he's had 18 goals for Arsenal this campaign. 4 in the Champions League, 12 in the Premier League. I think 3 or 4 of them have been penalty kicks. He's also had a goal or 2 in the FA Cup that not really super relevant for me. And his performances at Arsenal, I'd have to say, have been extremely lackluster. You don't really notice him in games, and people kind of have this conversation and this debate with Haaland, where you don't really notice Haaland in games, but then he scores. But I think Haaland just provides so much more pressure in the 6-yard box, and I think, again, the difference is Haaland goes ghost, and you don't notice him for 60% of a game, but he typically scores once or twice. The problem with Gyokeres, at least this season, is he is unnoticeable for a lot of the game, and then he doesn't score. A lot of games, he doesn't even get a shot on target. I do want to say this towards the second half of the season, he's actually been a lot better at hold-up play and a lot better at getting the rest of the team involved in play. He'll hold up the ball and pass it out to an outlet. Something that I really wasn't overly expecting for him to do, especially in the first half of the season. He was really struggling with it because if you watched him at Sporting, he was kind of always getting balls in behind, and he was isolating defenders one-on-one and just running at them. He wasn't typically trying to hold up play and get his team involved. And I think Arsenal has kind of done him a disservice the way they've been using him. I think if he went to maybe a Manchester United playing that same 3-4-3 with Ruben Amorim, they would probably send a little more balls in behind. He'd maybe be able to isolate a defender more one-on-one and have more space and be able to use his strength and a little bit of his pace. But I'd say for this season so far, he's been lackluster, but still a decent signing for Arsenal. Again, they are tied for first place in this moment, so Gyokeres has been an important part of that. Moving on to Ekitike, 23 years old, €95 million fee for Liverpool. He has 17 goals in 45 appearances for Liverpool, 11 in the league and 3 in the Champions League, and then again some goals in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. He also, this is his biggest distinction between him and Gyokeres and Sesko. He has 6 assists this season. He is just so much more versatile of a player than these two. Sesko and Gyokeres are just so much more of a stiff, I play striker only. I know there's been arguments that Sesko can play left wing, and he has at Leipzig. I don't see it. He's just a striker, and that's not a bad thing. But Ekitike does have that versatility to him. You've seen him play left wing for France. You've seen him play left wing for Liverpool when they're trying to use him to complement Alexander Isak. He's just so much more fluid on the ball. He takes on his defenders better. He is worse at hold-up play than both, but again, that's not really what you're using him for. I've seen so many goals where he's just so fluid. He turns on the half turn, a volley out of midair in the top corner. Like, these are things that I could just never see someone that's kind of more stiff like Gyokeres doing. I couldn't see him on the half turn, a half volley in a split second in the top corner like Ekitike did. It's just something I don't really see. So I really have grown to appreciate Ekitike's game, and especially in the beginning of the season with Isak starting and he was getting such sparing minutes, he was able to kind of take the position over and make it his own. Plus, Alexander Isak got hurt, which helped Ekitike make the position his own. But I think he's been really impressive. Although his Liverpool is in 5th place, I wouldn't really put that on him. But I think, again, if he was maybe scoring a little bit more than 11 goals in the league, if he was maybe able to get to that like 15-20 mark, something that like Igor Thiago has even done this season, Liverpool would probably be in 3rd or 4th. So that's the one gripe I could put on Ekitike, but I don't really think that's his fault. I think that's more on Mohamed Salah having such a terrible season compared to his standards. And then finally was Benjamin Sesko. Again, 22 years old, €85 million fee. Again, you're paying for the raw athleticism, the potential, the upside. He was the most raw. He was the most athletic out of these three. And he's had 10 goals this season for Manchester United in 30 appearances, just a goal every 3 games. Not the worst in your first season as a 22-year-old. He's had decent hold-up play. He's much better in the air than Ekitike or Gyokeres is, which is a great upside because when you have players like Bruno Fernandes and Mateus Cunha and Mbeumo crossing you the ball, you want someone that can get on the end of those crosses. I think that's one of my big gripes with Gyokeres this season that you've seen is he's just really lackluster in the air, and people already made that argument before the season started. But I thought maybe it just wasn't really used at Sporting. Sporting was a lot more of one-on-ones, a lot more of on the ground cutbacks, not a lot of crosses. Gyokeres with crosses from Saka, with crosses from anybody, he's still not getting on the end of that, which is not like Sesko. Sesko is getting on the end of it, and his hold-up play has been great. I think he needs to be a little bit better on the ball. I think he needs to be willing to take a little bit more risk, run more at a defender, take somebody more one-on-one. It seems like he tries to really avoid that at this moment in time. But you have to say, United are in 3rd place, and he's scored some important goals to put them there. He's scored goals where it is the winning goal. He is the reason why they are getting those 3 points. So I can't take that away from him. He's done a really good job at putting Manchester United in the place they're at. He hasn't always gotten to start, which, isn't much of his fault. It was a bit of Ruben Amorim's fault, and now with Michael Carrick, he's kind of gone to that 4-2-3-1, and he wants an out-and-out striker, and now Sesko's gotten consistent minutes, and I think he's been putting in pretty good performances, even if they're not leading to goals and assists. So Gyokeres this season has played 2,000 minutes, and he's averaging 0.54 goals per 90. Sesko has played 1,500 minutes, a lot less, and he's averaging 0.54 goals per 90. And Ekitike has played 1,800 minutes, and he's averaging 0.55 goals per 90. So you could see that Gyokeres has played the most minutes, Sesko's played the least, Ekitike's in between, but they're both average. All three of them are averaging the same goals per 90. So you would assume if Sesko played a little bit more, he'd have a higher goal. He'd have more goals. His goal output would look better. But they're basically averaging the same amount of goals while they're out there. The difference is as well, though, is Gyokeres is the only one with penalty kick goals, which is kind of upping that number for him. So, and overall, you'd think that it showed that Gyokeres is kind of underperforming the rest when it comes to goal output. And between the three, Gyokeres has a 0.5 goal per shot on target. Sesko has a 0.29 goal per shot on target, and Ekitike has a 0.58 goal per shot on target. So this is just a great stat to understand finishing, and it's just showing that Ekitike is taking high quality shots, and when he is getting his shot off, his ball striking is elite and he is scoring a majority of the time. Gyokeres is also doing that at a high rate. Gyokeres doesn't take a lot of shots, but when he does, it's typically a pretty conservative shot, a pretty well thought out shot, not a very long distance shot. It's usually within the box, and he's scoring at a 0.50 per goal shot on target, which is great. Sesko is where you see him lack behind, 0.29. I think a lot of it is just him taking more wild shots. He's willing to just take a shot from distance. But it shows that at this current moment in time, his finishing is a bit worse, which is to be expected. He's more raw. He's more athletic. He's young. He's the youngest out of the three. And the major difference is per 90 goals plus assists. Ekitike is the only one who changes. Gyokeres' per 90 goals is 0.54. His per 90 goals plus assists is 0.54. Sesko is the same thing. It's 0.54. It doesn't change. Ekitike's per 90 goals is 0.55, but his per 90 goals plus assists is 0.75. And again, that's what I was talking about. He is also adding assists to his game. He is getting assists. He's playing at left wing at times. He's willing to hold the width. He's willing to pick up the ball in any position on the pitch and then distribute. He's just actually good on the ball, and he's a pretty technical passer. So I think that's the biggest distinction between the three when it comes to output other than goals, is Ekitike has actually added assists to his game, which is really impressive. So if I were to rank the three right now, I would say Ekitike has had the best season. He's just looked the best on the ball, looked very comfortable, and he's scored basically the most goals. He scored one less goal than Gyokeres, but also played a significantly less minutes and less games. I'd put Gyokeres at second. I think Gyokeres has provided somewhat of what Arsenal needs, and they're in first place. Like, again, it's not solely on Gyokeres why they're in first place, but he's added to that, and he's helped them. And he scored some pivotal goals in the Champions League, and a goal or two that's been pivotal in the league to keep them in first place. So tied for first. So I really will put him at second. And I think third, I'd put Sesko at third. He's had a rough season solely just because his minutes have been so sporadic and he wasn't always starting, but he's been able to make the most out of the minutes, and I've seen him really do things that are impressive on the pitch. So I think in this current moment, Ekitike has been best, Gyokeres has been second best, Sesko has been third best, and I think what helps me put Gyokeres in at second best as well is just the fee was significantly less than the rest. It's like 20 or 30 million euro less than the two other strikers on this list. So in terms of value, Gyokeres hasn't been overly bad, but let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you guys think has had the best season out of the three. This was such a big debate in the summer, and I want to know, now that the season's over, what people are thinking. Thank you.